Hi, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Welcome to the Chicken Box. I'm your host, Kevin Impeccable Peck, or co-host, along with my beautiful co-host, Dr. Draper and Courtney Alexander. How are you guys feeling this wonderful Thursday?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for asking.
That's a good word. You ever ask somebody how they're doing, and it's always well, my back, Anyway, Courtney, how you feeling?
I'm feeling blessed and grateful to be here. Thank you for asking.
Blessed and grateful and great. I love those words. If you've never tuned in, this is the Chicken Box where we speak our truth. It's always black people versus something, but we are talking about black people versus Afro legacy. If you don't know, the Chicken Box is powered by the 130-year-old oldest black business in Maryland, third oldest in the country. That is quite a feat. Thank you, Afro, for everything you've done, inspiring, informing, and educating throughout the years through many forms of media, starting out as in paper form, because that's all it was, all the way to today, where digital streaming is happening fast, live, and in real time, telling relevant stories and showing how to do business as Black excellence for over 129 years. That's right. Next week, it's going to be the birthday. I don't know if you got your ticket, if you're coming to the gala, if you're in the Baltimore area. I'm already doing the plug because it's all about the party. The party is happening. And hopefully, if you're in the area or if you're not and you want to be there, you can still go. Okay, let me just put the flyer up. Goodness gracious. Culture, legacy, and our story and vision. It's going to be right in between Baltimore and DC at Martin's Crosswinds. It is not a shameless plug. It is a dope night of excellence. You're getting dressed. It's red carpet sexy, black tie, whatever you like to wear on the red carpet. Come and hang out with some of the coolest people on the planet at the Afro Gala. Okay, there's my shameless plug. I didn't even say anything else about Kid Capri's gonna be there. Anyway, or Tommy Davidson's gonna be there as well. And hopefully you're gonna be there. So we got a great topic today. It's Black people versus Afro legacy, and we have invited some guests to join us. Some legendary guests. Are they backstage, Lisa? Lisa, I don't never shout you out. That's our producer. She's always in the background. Thank you for all you do. And welcome everybody to the Chicken Box from wherever you're from. All right. Well, let's see who we got on the line. Rashad, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Man, I'm having a great day representing Word in Black. I was told by little Birdie that you were out in Arizona.
I am. It's not as hot today. It's I think it's in the 90s. We had some good rain finally. It's been dry for a few weeks.
Absolutely. So people may have never heard of Word in Black. And I know Dr. Draper invited you in because the Afro is part of that Word in Black family. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about you, and we're gonna get into this conversation about Afro legacy and what legacy means, and just how excited we are about this 130th.
So I'm the educational reporter for Word in Black. My background is I'm a United States Air Force veteran, a father, and also I play with a little bit with poetry. And so I came to Word in Black because I have a 7-year-old daughter who actually is going into the second grade. Getting old. She's in second grade, and she is in a predominantly brown and black school. And I've been a teaching artist for a while, and I've been around in the suburbs. And in this school, I don't see as many resources. So I wanted to be that voice, to project that voice, because I know that is something that plagues black and brown, predominantly black and brown schools.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Chicken Box. If
Thank
you're from Baltimore, you know what a chicken box is. You know what a chicken box is, Rashad? I'm gonna put it out there.
No, I don't.
You probably do. Okay, it's just a box of chicken. Okay,
Oh,
full wings and fries. It's a Baltimore thing. Next time you come to Baltimore, you can get a in your area they call it Arnold Palmer. In our area we call it a half and half.
right.
You can get that along with some salt, pepper, ketchup, hot sauce, whatever you like on your chicken, and it's something that makes you smile, especially around lunchtime. So that's what the chicken box, that's what the show is. But here's where we speak our truth. You get a chance to get on the box and talk about what you were just talking about, the
Right.
black and brown schools.
Let me say this too. Rashad, welcome. Rashad was a little modest. He is an award-winning essayist and poet. He was named, I'm just going to brag on you a little bit. Um, he was named the best poet by the Phoenix New Times just a couple of years ago in 2019, and a recipient of the Helen Plummer. He was a Helen Plummer McDonald Fellow of 2017. He's a bad brother, so he has a great way with words. And Word in Black is a collaborative of 10 of the leading Black newspapers, legacy papers, who are now becoming digital gurus in the country. And Rashad is one of our newest journalists on the team. And so welcome, Rashad, as we're talking about Black people, not just versus the Afro-American, but Black people versus the Black press and the legacy. Black press is 195 years old this year. And Impeccable, I think we have another guest backstage too, that we can also bring on whenever you are ready. So we're expecting two more guests. I think Ursula's backstage, and Anissa, I don't know if she's backstage yet, but she will be. So welcome, Rashad. We
Thank you.
happy to have you here. You're in Phoenix, Kevin, Impeccable's in Atlanta. Today I'm in hot Dallas. And Courtney, you're where? In Chicago?
Yes, I'm very.
And Ursula, you're in Baltimore? Are you in Baltimore today?
Yes, I'm in Baltimore.
Okay, she's in Baltimore today. All right. And so our guest Ursula Battle is here as well. Another very talented artist. I will call you artist, Ursula, because you write. You write poetry, you write plays, and you are a journalist. And at one time, you were part of the AFRO team. And so we're glad to have you with us, Ursula. And now you write for another Black publication in Baltimore, the Baltimore Times. Okay, Ursula, looks like we're losing you. I see it going around in a circle, so you'll be back.
Absolutely. Welcome back to the Chicken Box, everybody. If you just tuned in, we're closing in 9 days until the Afro's 130th birthday, but we're talking about legacy. What comes to mind, Courtney, who is, on our digital team, when you think about legacy?
To me, legacy is, in a way, like tradition. It's like who you are for a long period of time, I guess. To me, it's like what you represent. The Afro, and it is like traditional, and it is a family-owned business. So to me, you guys are like carrying the business down through the different generations. So you're carrying.
Absolutely. If it's a delay, that means we're talking about some bad Black business. We breaking the stream. When we start talking about some positive things, they try to shut us down. Stay with us, people. Thank you, Byron, Chippy, Susie, anybody else who's tuning in today. We just popped up on your thread. Hopefully, I think we might have Ursula back. Ursula, welcome back.
Thank you.
To the Chicken Box. Long time.
Long
No, see, we gave you this wonderful introduction, and then boom, you were gone. But now you're back. See, real journalists, they don't stop. Okay, when they don't get the story they want the first time, they keep coming back. So, am I pausing? I'm beginning to think I'm pausing for a second. You ever been like, just, are you frozen? All right, we've all experienced that during the pandemic. But Ursula, you can just tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, and then we're getting into the legacy conversation about the Afro's 130th right now.
Okay. First and foremost, I give God praise for the opportunity to join you all for the show this afternoon. I'm grateful. Of course, I couldn't start out without just extending just a hearty welcome to everybody that's on the line today, and kudos to the Afro on 130 years. So a little bit about myself. Well, I worked at the Afro-American newspaper from about I want to say 1991 until about 1998. I was hired by Mr. Joe Green Bishop, and then my editor became the late great Jimmy Williams, and so that's sort of like how I got my foot in the door at the AFRO. So it gave me my journalistic start. What can I say? I still work as a journalist. As Dr. Draper indicated, I'm writing plays now. And doing shows in Baltimore. We've done shows in other places around the nation, and kind of got a really good thing going with these shows. And I just honestly have to say that the AFRO opened many doors for me, and I'm continuing to this day to work as a journalist. So currently, I write for the Baltimore Times newspaper group.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ursula, I saw your work. I think I might have been there during that time as well. And you were always on the move. You always were pleasant to be around. You know, some people come to work with bad attitude. And you're really not happy to be around them because they don't smile, they barely say good morning. That's my cue. If you haven't smiled or said good morning to anybody today or good afternoon, now is your time. It's your smiling moment. It makes you feel better. It releases some things. Dr. Draper, you look like you got a joke for us today?
Not today. Too early in the show.
So we're talking 130 years, you guys. It is not a small feat for any business, let alone an African American business that has had to endure hundreds of, that's crazy to say, hundreds of years of people trying to oppress us and stop us from getting information that is beneficial to our community. Rashard, Word in Black out in Arizona, we last to get the holiday for MLK. What do you think about when you think about legacy?
So I've been thinking about that a lot because my $2, my father left me the legacy of the military, using the military as a resource to, social mobility. And for me, as a father and also an activist, and really focusing on education, I want to be able to change the trajectory of education for Black children, and so I want to leave that as a legacy for my children, so they can live through that same with that same mission and focus.
Absolutely. Same question to you, Ursula. When you think about legacy, just in general, what comes to mind?
The AFRO. Just the overcome, and not to overcome, but to be successful and to be able to leave behind something that future generations can carry on. And I think the AFRO exemplifies that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Dr. Draper is fourth generation, if I'm not mistaken. So someone had to have come before her or preceded her and left a legacy in order for the AFRO to continue. So to me, the AFRO epitomizes legacy, overcoming, succeeding, and passing the baton and continuing to be successful. That's like,
that is a beautiful answer. Anissa, who is supposed to be our guest, do you have Rashard's phone number? If you do, or Rashard, do you have Anissa's phone number, or Lisa, our producer? If you can get in touch with her, she's having a little bit of trouble. If a link, I know this is real time, y'all, so we're trying to get our guest on. If a link was sent to you, Anissa, go to Chrome, paste it in, and everything should pop up. Very easy for you to get in. So Lisa, maybe if you could reach out to her through a Facebook message. Anyway,
Lisa said she's working with her now. She's
okay, beautiful. If you just tuned in, this is the Chicken Box. This is 9 days away from the 130th gala happening next Saturday on the 13th. Not this Saturday, the 13th. You got time. You could rent an outfit, top, whatever, or you got something in your closet. It's time to come and show Black excellence and show and support the oldest Black business in Maryland, just to say thank you. Sometimes you just need to say thank you for giving me an example to just follow and come into. So, Anissa, I think we got you. Anissa, welcome to the Chicken Box. You did it.
Hello.
How you doing?
Sorry for the delay. Good, and yourself?
Fantastic. Digital delay can be frustrating sometimes, especially when you're trying to get in and you start to sweat and everything else. But this is the time to smile, Anissa, and smile. I heard you from Word and Black. Dr. Draper, you want to give a little quick intro, and then we can get this full circle of conversation going about legacy and about the 130th.
Well, welcome, Anissa. One thing I can say about Anissa, she is persistent. She pushed her way until she made it here on the Chicken Box. We're happy to have her. Anissa, you are the health reporter. Am I correct?
Yes, health data.
So Word in Black, again, is a collaborative of 10 of the leading Black papers in the United States. And we have a fantastic team of journalists. Our journalists write and contribute the content. And so, speaking of plugs, go to wordinblack.com, sign up for the newsletter. It is free, wordinblack.com, and you will see Anissa's work. You'll see Rashad's work. And so Anissa has been doing a lot of writing around health disparities and inequities. But Anissa, give us a little bit about your background and talk to us a little bit about the health reporting that you do. And Rashad, we're going to come back to you to tell us a little bit about the education reporting that you do as well.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Again, apologies for the delay. As Dr. Draper mentioned, I am the new health and data reporter at Word in Black. So this is my third week, still getting, used to everything and the data aspect of things, but I'm very excited to be here and be part of this legacy media and the Black press. I published my first story last week about the fentanyl crisis and how that's impacting the Black community. It's unfortunate that Black folks had the highest death rates between 2019 and 2020 as far as overdoses go. And currently, a story will be coming out today about food insecurity in the Black community. So I'm looking at several different states and Louisiana, DC, and I can't remember the third one that I put in there. Basically talking about how Black folks don't have access to healthy foods and kind of the impacts of that. So that'll be coming out later this evening. And yeah, I have a couple other things I'm working on, and I'm just very excited to be here.
That's great, and we're glad to have you. We're talking about legacy, and I'm gonna come back to you in a minute, Rashad, to talk about what you do. So, impeccable. When I think about legacy, one thing that really crosses my mind, how challenging it must have been in 1892 when the AFRO was founded, or in 1827 when Freedom's Journal was founded, and all of the publications that were founded before us and after, but the ones that still survive today, like the Philadelphia Tribune, which was founded in 1884. How challenging it must have been when those who do data, Anissa said that only a small percentage of us could even read. And you couldn't get a loan. You all know you can't get those today, so they weren't getting them in the 1800s. You had to have your own, and it was dependent on readership. And so if they could make it, we can make it. And so I want to talk a little bit about the need for the Black press today. And Anissa, this is an intergenerational show. Rashad has already confessed that he's a Gen Xer. I think Courtney is Gen Z. Courtney, Ursula, I'm gonna guess that you're Gen X as well.
That sounds about right.
Right. Anissa, what generation? Millennial or Gen Z?
Gen Z.
So Gen Z. So I'd be really
I'm right there with you, Courtney.
We have quite a few Gen Zers on the AFRO team, and so we're glad to have that perspective. But I'm really curious about the various perspectives around the legacy and the future of the Black press. All of us are working in that field. Mm-hmm. Ursula is still there as well. So anybody, just jump in. This is a Chicken Box, so Just jump in. You don't have to wait for us to call on you. We're having a conversation. So anybody want to just jump in?
Can I start?
Sure.
So I think the Black press is always going to be relevant. For one, I just remember, and it continues today, that there are just certain issues that the Black press covers that typically, and I think you talked about this the other day, aren't covered by the mainstream press. And so in order for that information to be disseminated, in order for issues to be addressed, there has to be an entity, there has to be a journalistic organization that's willing to cover those particular issues. And I remember, during my days at the AFRO, I was the reporter that I guess I covered a lot of crime. I think crime was my claim to fame at the AFRO. But I was the reporter that a lot of people trusted, and I would get a lot of breaking stories. And I sort of earned that reputation because I was the reporter that sort of took on a lot of the stories that other people wouldn't necessarily touch. So as long as you have those issues that are relevant to the Black community in particular, that some media outlets aren't willing to touch, that only the Black press is willing to touch and put out there to address and to hopefully bring about change, I think that the relevancy of a paper such as the AFRO and other Black media organizations are always going to be relevant.
That's wonderful. It's like the pregnant pause. Everybody's waiting to jump in. So I'm gonna have to call on y'all. Courtney, what do you think?
Like I mentioned last box, there are Black stories that need to be told, and Dr. Draper mentioned how other news organizations they don't tell the stories from a Black perspective. So I think the Black press is essential because I guess a Black perspective, and we need these stories to be told. So I think the Black press will always be and essential for the Black community.
Hold me down, Rashad. What you got?
Well, I grew up in, my dad was stationed in North Dakota. So I came to Word in Black because it forms the personal and the community narrative of Black people. I've never experienced that. I've always wanted to. And Word in Black let me, analyze, the inequity, the racial inequities that our communities experience. And they give me an opportunity to write about things that is different, and we may not see in the mainstream. Like I'm writing a piece about the de-education of Black boys, and and the solutions that we can provide, like mentorship and ensuring that they are trained through the summer about entrepreneurship and technology. And those things are in the Black press. It's not just analyzing, it's also uplifting. And in our day and time, it's hard to find those things. But the Black press enables us, and especially Word in Black, enables us to talk about those conversations that we see and impact our lives.
Absolutely. Anissa, what do you say to the people who say the Black press or the Black newspaper is my grandmother's or paper?
Y'all need to be reading my stories then.
She said y'all need to read her story so you can find out.
Yeah. I definitely have heard that. I mean, I think it kind of speaks to the legacy that it is the older generations or the previous generations that got this off the ground and have continued to keep it going. But that doesn't mean Gen Z or millennials or whatever comes after can't read that or can't participate, because this is a space for us and we want to carry that torch and continue on. And kind of just to touch on or add on what Rashad was saying, all my previous newsrooms, I've been probably the only Black reporter, and just the differences that I'm experiencing, only being a few weeks on the job, having a Black reporter, the whole team mostly being Black, it's just so striking, and it's exciting and empowering to be in a space that I know I like my voice matters and the ideas that I have and all these different stories that I want to do are valued and appreciated. One thing that has been on my radar for probably since like last summer is about how kind of like the fear the people in the Black community have about registering as organ donors. And I personally, just me and my friends have spoken about it, and a lot of us aren't registered because we're like, we have this mistrust. And I mean, I'm Gen Z, and there's people that are older than me that aren't registered because they don't trust the healthcare system. And I brought it up to my previous newsroom, and my editor, a white woman, was kind of like, "Yeah, I don't think that's a story. Like, I don't see it." And now that was one of the first ideas I had here at Word in Black, and Liz was like, "Go for it." So it's just such a striking difference, and I'm so happy that as young as I am, I can continue in this legacy.
That's a fantastic, fantastic moment in Black press history, just to know that our newsrooms operate differently. And a lot of people who get the news really, unless you're in the business, don't really understand totally what's happening in the newsroom and how ideas come and what's being shot down, being greenlit. But for somebody of another race, a lot of times you can't understand, uh, or you don't try to understand, because you probably could if you just took a second to listen to somebody else and you could hear a perspective. That's like saying, okay, I don't get worried that sitting on the plane that somebody could possibly be infected. And that doesn't matter what color you is. Is that a story there? Yeah, of course it's a story of how close we still sit when COVID's running around, but they wouldn't fight that one. Anyway, you just tuned in. This is the Black press. I mean, Black people versus everybody. No, I'm just kidding. This is the Black press versus legacy, and just we want to just really get to the point where we understand that it is a place. It was a place then 130 years. And it's a place now, and it is a place in the future for our voice and for our information. And some of the information is not going to resonate with everybody else, and that's fine. That's why we have our own market and our own niche. But the thing about it, when we try to niche up, they try to say that we're forming a gang or something. But they don't say that about the Jewish press or the Asian press. They don't say that about anybody else except the Black press. So, legacy, 130 years, the Black press. Dr. Draper, this has been a generational family business, but it's been families within families. So
Correct.
you probably have a recollection. How many generations do you go back?
Just two. I mean, I remember people. Well, so my grandfather, I remember him, second generation. So Carl Murphy was the editor and publisher of the AFRO from 1922 when his father died. Of course, I didn't know him in 1922 until 1967 when he died. So I did know him then. And so then my mother's generation behind them. And so we embarked on a family tree project for this 130th. We thought it was going to be fairly straightforward, Ursula, but it ended up being 300 and some odd people because there are now 7 generations. The 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th generation have living members in it. So it was a whole lot of people living, a whole lot of people, of course, that have gone before. So I remember growing up when the AFRO at its heyday. When I say it's in its heyday now. I think this is the best time now because of partnerships like Word in Black, because of young journalists like Anissa and Rashad and Courtney and Ursula. All y'all younger than me, so I can say young journalists. So because of young journalists, but back then, when in my mother's generation, all you had was the AFRO had 13 editions, 200 employees, owned its own press, and had offices in Baltimore, Washington, New Jersey, Richmond, Philadelphia, all up and down the East Coast. Technology now dictates that you don't have to have 200 people, and you only and we're still doing a print product, but we're not primarily print. We're a media company. So to answer your question, I've had a lot of experience, but I was not always at the AFRO myself. I just came back in 2018, but I've spent off and on a lot of time there. as Ursula did. Ursula spent a lot of time. Courtney is spending some time. Impeccable. You've spent a lot of time over your career. Nisa, I heard you say that you've come out of a press background. And Rashad, your background's a little different, but you still bring that passion to this work. And we were talking about the number of African Americans in white newsrooms. The last statistic I saw, it was like 7%. And so the argument is, rather, I don't know whether argument's a good word, but newsrooms say they want diversity, they want inclusion, they want belonging, they want all of that. But when you ask for data and statistics on it, you don't get the data and statistics that supports that. Now, some are doing better than others. So that's another curiosity, but I don't want to spend time talking about that today. I want to talk about the positives of what we're doing and why we're doing and why it's important. And I'm curious, Ursula, I am curious from your vantage point of what you're seeing. What are you hearing when you go out to cover different things? Are you hearing that your work is still relevant? I heard your answer about it would always be relevant, but what are you hearing on the street?
I still hear it's relevant, and I still hear that, even though I write for the Baltimore Times, people tell me that they read the Baltimore Times. I still run into people that tell me that they remember me from the Afro-American newspaper. So people are, still telling me, listen, I still get my Afro. I'm reading the Baltimore Times. So when I'm hearing that type of feedback, I know that, and they can tell me what I've written about. And they can tell me what I covered when I was at the Afro. So in order for them to share that particular type of feedback, I believe they would have to be still reading the Afro. They would still have to be getting the Afros delivered. They would have to be reading the Afro online, getting the Baltimore Times, reading the Baltimore Times online. So all that to say that, yes, I am still getting feedback that people are still reading the Black press articles. They're still tuning in to to what you're doing now in terms of the podcast. And ultimately, I believe that they believe that there's a certain perspective, a certain type of coverage that they can get from the Black media that perhaps they're not getting from the mainstream media. So yes, and yes, the Black press is still getting a positive, kudos, I would say. And it's still, people are again sharing the feedback. I'm reading it.
Well, good. And we're reading the story that you wrote about the Afro in the Baltimore Times. So thank you for that.
This week. Part 2 coming. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you for that.
I'm going to restart my browser. I'll be right back, you guys. I'm going to be a stupid message. Anyway, continue. Can you guys hear me clearly? Yes. I don't know why they sent me a message, restart your browser. I'm like, is it this hot? Is the block that hot? I mean, is the newsroom that hot? I want to know what was happening in the newsroom, probably from Ursula's time. And Dr. Draper, I know you spent some time in the newsroom. Just to know, like, what kind of stories we're getting, where were you getting your tips from? You know what I mean? Did you have a secret anonymous person who was giving you, Ursula, you were doing crime. So I know, they weren't doing too much snitching in Baltimore. So
I tell you, I had some really great stories that I covered during the Afro, my years at the Afro. So I came through at a really good time because I caught the latter years before he passed away of Tommy Stockett, the artist. I got an opportunity to work with the legendary Sam Lacey, Mr. Jimmy Williams. I mean, just incredible people. Mrs. Draper, Ida Peters, Betty Moss. So I came at a time where it was a Charles Street location, but I caught the tail end of some of the legendary people who were working at the Afro at that time in their later years. That was very exciting. Miss Gaynor Hackney, who has since passed. So it was just a great time. So as part of that too, I guess I got the stories again that a lot of people couldn't necessarily get. So I had a really good relationship with several African-American officers in the police department, and namely due to the fact that the Afro allowed me to write about the disparity in treatment of Black officers. that also ultimately led to African American officers being promoted within the police department. So those types of stories sort of garnered me a loyal contingency of people who gave me, I guess, I guess you say scoops on stories. So so certainly, a lot of crime I covered. Covered the mayor's office at the time. It was Kurt Schmoke. I covered an execution for the AFRO gentleman by the name of Flint Gregory Hunt, who was executed some years ago. And the AFRO actually had to push for my inclusion in that. So just so many stories, Kevin, and just an exciting time to work in the newsroom. Now, it was only 3 of us reporters there at the time, but I would say that the AFRO made much out of the 3 reporters that they had. And each week the paper was full of all kinds of wonderful stories. Wouldn't say crime was necessarily a good story, but I think the crime pieces that I covered brought to the forefront at that time just how devastating Black on Black crime was and continues to be.
Thank you, Ursula. And so, Anissa, I know we already talked about the health reporting that you're doing for Word in Black, and you talked a little bit about the kinds of stories that you're doing. And Rashad, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you think people are interested in today? What kinds of stories? You all are certainly looking at it through a national lens for Word in Black, and then those of us who are members of Word in Black, we can, personalize it, if you will, for our markets, or just pick it up exactly like you have it. But what do you think? What kind of issues are people really passionate about? Courtney, I'm gonna come to you. You're handling social media on your side. What do you think, Anissa, then Rashad? Courtney?
You want me to go first, or you want to go, Rashad?
Anissa, you go first.
Oh boy. I think people are thinking of a lot of things. I think social media plays a big part, whatever's going on Twitter, things like that. But just to get more specific, some of the things that myself and the other health reporter have been talking about covering is about maternal health in the Black community, prenatal care, how accessible it is for Black women, Black morbidity, all of those things, as well as I want to do more coverage on the opioid crisis and how that's impacting Black folks. Why one of the things I found in my last story was there was a lot of clinics and treatment centers nearby, but Black people were the least to get access to these treatment centers. So exploring like these disparities and things like that. That's kind of like coming off the top of my head. Also, food insecurity and how we can get more food to Black households and children, and like help the education system. All these things are so intertwined, but those are some things I think people are thinking about. But go ahead and jump in, Rashad.
Lately, I've noticed the topic is Black educators being in the classroom. There has been an exodus of teachers over all in the nation, but importantly, Black educators being in rooms where the students can see themselves and hear about culturally relevant topics that impact their lives, may it be positive or where we struggle. Another topic is another topic is graduation rates and dropout rates. Specific, even though the percentage rate has increased, there still is concern about continuing that positive move forward. And like I said, the Word in Black, allows me to tell those narratives. We want to hear those personal stories. There's another something different that I've never experienced is Word in Black allows me to put myself into these stories, because I was once a Black boy. I didn't see a teacher that looked like me. I worried about graduating and moving on to go to the college. And I found that community college has been a saving grace for a lot of our children who haven't found a university to be affordable. That's another topic. And also just carrying on that, like you said, legacy. So the children and the generations behind us understand that we are able to go to school. We can be educators to help our community and change the face of the inequities that continually to cause detriment to our lives.
So I agree with Anissa and Rashad. I see a lot of stories about education topics and healthcare as well. I also see a lot of political stories going on right now. We know about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So I see a lot of stories and coverage on that. I see a lot of people concerned about women's rights and how we're going to move forward from that. So it is like scary to see women concerned about where we're going to go from now, like how, like what's just going to happen in the future. So I primarily see that. I also see a lot of people, especially like Gen Zers, interested in celebrity gossip. So I see a lot of like blogs and other news outlets. They post headlines that are, I guess, juicy. They have like that juicy headline and it just like pulls people in. So I just noticed that celebrity gossip, that's something that's a number one for me on my feed. And I feel like there are more topics that need to be covered, and celebrity gossip shouldn't be as popular as it is because there are other things that are concerning. So that's something that's concerning to me.
Well,
I
just wanted to,
go ahead. Also said,
I want to say
celebrity gossip is that really is a takeoff from the Black press. If you go back into the archives of any African American newspaper in the country and look at the headlines, and then we were accused of sensationalism. But it's nothing but now it's got a tech sexy name, celebrity gossip. But if you go back and look in the archives of any Black newspaper, you'll see that those things always sold, right? And it sounds like there's still some interest. Impeccable, what were you getting ready to say?
I was just going to say somebody tuned in late. This is a Black people versus Black legacy, the Black press. We have some Gen Zers, we have some Gen X, we got some baby boomer millennials on, and we're getting a perspective and put it in the chat. Like, what do you like to see? Which stories would you like to see covered in the Black press? You know, because a lot of times I heard you guys, Rashad and Anissa and Courtney even. And Courtney, I'm glad you went to the juicy and said you like the gossip, but it's not so much exactly just what you're passionate about, but you like to read news, or you like to, you know, you scroll your feed and see all kinds of things. And so put in the chat what you like to see in the news. So we were trying to get some. We know you're passionate about education. We know you're passionate about health, Anissa. We want to know, what else are you reading on your feed? Anissa, you go first.
I was just going to jump in before I answer your question. I wanted to add that kind of what Courtney was saying about a lot of the things that she sees on her feed. I noticed Gen Zers are very open about mental health, and the younger generations are talking a lot about mental health. They're talking about their stories or their experiences with anxiety or depression or navigating education spaces like college and as a person of color and different things like that. So that is something I want to incorporate a lot in my reporting. What am I reading? I feel like I read a little bit of everything. I have read some things about how like the Roe v. Wade has impacted like the Black community. I've also been reading, I like to read stories about what's going on with prisons, the Marshall Project. I love the stories that they're reporting on. Also local reporting. I'm here in San Diego, so what's going on with infrastructure, education, like taxes, gas prices, all this stuff that, you know, is draining all my money. So those are some of the things I've been keeping up with.
Gen Z, I love it. I love it. Because Gen X, we like, you better not talk about therapy. You better not talk about mental health. It was like a taboo word. It's like a complete reverse now. And I mean, and it needs to be talked about it. And I'm glad you're talking about it. Now, some people talk about it as when they want to get out of stuff. And other people talk about it when it's really real to them. So that could be another chicken box and another conversation. Rashad, what else are you look? What else? What other news, real quick?
Again, just like Anissa and Mr. Impeco, I wanted to interject and share a little something about, what our I live in South Phoenix, so it's the stories they're looking for. And I hear a lot about, there's a lot of critical analysis about our communities. They want to hear positive stories. What are people like? What organizations or politicians or community leaders, what are they doing to help us uplift each other and also change, our community? So to your next question, I'm reading about a lot about. I live in South Phoenix. It's being gentrified. House rates are going higher. The property tax are going higher, and a lot of the Black community are moving west to where there isn't, stores and hospitals and things like that because it's just being built up. And so they're wondering what's going to happen. Where are we going to, succeed and our community succeed? And that's through politics, that's through religion, that's through education, and it's also through the journalism that is being provided. There are Black journalists in predominantly white newsrooms here, and we're here to support them. But we want to hear without they tend to dilute the stories or what's true about what's going on in our communities.
Absolutely. Ursula, I know, you've been around a lot of newsrooms, but what stories do you like to see?
I guess I like to see just a cross spectrum of stories. I can tell you that one of the things that I really enjoy writing and that I enjoyed writing when I was at the AFRO were human interest stories and business stories, because I think that when I cover and I write about those stories and people read those stories, it shows that there are Black successful people who are running successful businesses and doing great things. Writing about the community association president who is in her community trying to clean up, or the person who's 100 years old, centenarian in their church who has been ushering in their church for 80 years. Those kinds of stories that oftentimes don't necessarily get the coverage from mainstream media, but you can pick up a copy of the AFRO or you can pick up the Baltimore Times and read those stories that typically don't get coverage. Because I think, as one of the journalists mentioned earlier, sometimes I would go to events, and that still is the case, covering graduations and things like that, and I'm the only journalist of color that's there, and sometimes the only journalist that's there covering that type of story. So I think that for me personally, and I think I maybe speak to a lot of people in the community, it's a cross section. The great stories, the stories that oftentimes don't necessarily get coverage. Yes, we need to hear about the issues, but we also want to hear about those people who are doing great things, who oftentimes just don't get covered by media.
Dr. Draper, I know you're an avid reader.
Mm-hmm.
And so 130 years, we have at least three or four generations on this call. If we fall into our age group now, I know you read a lot, but what do you like to see in the Black press or
No,
from?
I do read it. I consume a lot of news, and so I love political coverage from a Black perspective, business coverage. And when I go into a city, I look for the Black paper. So if I go to Arizona, where Rashad is, I'm going to look for the Arizona Informant, which is one of the oldest family-owned Black newspapers in the country. If I go to San Diego, I'm going to look for the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. If I go to Chicago, I'm going to look for the Chicago Defender or the Chicago Crusader. So I make it my business to be familiar with Black owned. Let me make a distinction: Black owned press. There's Black operated press.
Speak on it.
There's Black press that have people that look like us that are in key positions but not owned by us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is a difference between the Black owned press and Black operated press in terms of your ability to really influence what is, what the content is. Just like Anissa said, she had what she thought was a great story, and somebody didn't look like her. It wasn't a Black-owned newspaper, and Black newspaper rather, said they didn't think it was important. And so I am an avid fan of the Black press. And I'm an avid fan, though, like I said, I like political stories. I like stories that do speak to the positives in our community and upward mobility of our community. I also I like education stories, health stories. And I'm a huge sports fan. So I'm not looking for you to just tell me that the Orioles, won yesterday. I know that already, but I want to know who the players are, and especially when it comes to like Major League Baseball, when there are not as many African Americans. If they're brown people on the field, but not as many African Americans still playing that sport. So I like sports, I like politics, I like business. If I had to, and then after that, not because they're on, but I like education and health. And I am an avid consumer of news, mostly electronic. Um, you know, and I spend some time on social media, but I like to read. I even like to read stories in places like the Atlantic. So it's not all the black. It's not always only the black press. Because I have a subscription to the New York Times and to the Washington Post and to the and to the Baltimore's and to the Baltimore Sun. So I'm just a big consumer of news.
Absolutely. If you just tuned in, you got to go back because there's been some great things shared about the black press. Still relevant. But man, what's happening, y'all? This is happening. 130 years, vision, legacy, and culture. That is a major feat. The oldest black business in Maryland is celebrating. That's right. Sometimes you just got to take a minute, stop working, and just celebrate. We're having a party. We got legendary Kid Capri. We got Tommy Davidson, most known for his comedic sketches on In Living Color and just his comedic genius of sustaining for that many years, and also a local band, Absolute Music, and yourselves. It is going to be a night of black excellence. It's going to be a red carpet, sexy. Put it on. This is the time to dress up. You're like, what am I going to do? I'm tired of date night. Well, this is a good change. If you're tired of the regular old date night, get a babysitter, whatever you have to do, and come because it's going to be some of the most beautiful, powerful black people in the country. It'll be others, of course, others are invited, but this is a celebration of black excellence. Go to afro.com right now and get your tickets. 130 years is not a small feat, and I'm making a big deal about it because it is a big deal. And if we don't make big deals about our own culture, nobody else will, because they really are just trying to steal from us. Anyway, I mean, that's been their MO for over the years. I mean, I'm gonna just put it out there, okay? You see what they do. They're looking for the music, the poetry. Did you bring any poetry, sir? Rashad?
I do. I can.
All right, I know how you felt. You know what I mean. But we're about to go around and get on the box and we speak our truth when we stand on the box. Anissa, I don't know if you saw that, but in Baltimore, chicken box is 4 wings and fries. That's why it's called the chicken box. So we say, don't get chicken, get on the box and speak your truth about whatever it is that you want to speak your truth. Now, we don't have to agree with you. And that's the beautiful part about human beings. Don't get angry when a person does not exactly agree with you. They didn't agree with your point of view, so now I hate you. No. We all have different points of view. And I want to respect everybody's time. And Angel, I saw your comment. She said, I'm interested in, what'd you say? Black people missing in America, organ harvesting of black people. How many of our children are being killed by abortion? Black-owned media versus Black-sponsored media, just to mention a few. Thank you for your comments, Jewel, Liz. We have everybody else hanging out. If you're in the area, get your tickets. If you just want to ball out, get your tickets. Because it's going to be a beautiful day every day, but it's going to be a special day, August 13th, for our 130th birthday. So we're going to have final words. Dr. Draper, unless you have something you want to interject, and we're just going to get on the box and share whatever it is that we want to share.
Nope. Just so thankful for our guests. Anissa, Rashad, Ursula. Thank you for being with us today. Courtney, always good to co-host along with you, and Impeccable. And so next week we are excited, as Impeccable said, about the celebration of 130 years. We're going to have with us, we're not going to have a lot of speaking, but we are going to have with us Moses Newsom, who was one of the 2 Black journalists who was on the Freedom Rides, also covered Emmett Till. He might be on Chicken BOXX next week. We'll see. He covered Emmett Till. He covered the Arkansas, when the integration of schools in Arkansas. He didn't read about it. He was on the bus with the Freedom Riders. He's 95 years old. We are hoping to have him. He is coming to the gala on. If you're there, you might just want to just get his autograph, right? He is a world-renowned journalist. Moses Newsom was our editor for many, many years at the AFRO. So in addition to Kid Capri and Tommy Davidson, Moses Newsom will be there. Congressman Kwesi Mfume, who was an Afro paperboy at one time, he's going to be there and offer the toast for the 130th. I'm going to step out on a limb, Impeccable. If there is an individual, not a company, if you are an individual and you are interested in coming to the gala, we have been giving away. Now I know, Ursula, you might already have your tickets, but we've been offering some limited discount codes. I have a discount code for you, but you got to DM me through this AFRO Facebook page. Send me a message today. That's my offer up until 5 o'clock today, 5 o'clock Eastern time today. All right. I don't want cost to be a factor. It's still gonna cost you, but you'll have a little bit of a break. And I'll say that to the first. I'm not gonna be able to do that for all because we don't have that much space left. First of all, first 10 people to DM me. Let me do it this way. First 10 people to DM me today before 5 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to give you $100 off your ticket.
Say what? All right.
There you go.
I'm about to DM you. What you mean?
It's a lot of black power is going to be in the room. And as we gather, we get more powerful. So come in the room and just see what it is to be 130 years old.
Right.
And where it's going for the next 130 years.
And Lisa, monitor the direct messages for me. Somebody or Dana, somebody has to monitor so I'll know who has done that. Okay.
All right, Courtney, you're on the box about anything. Black press, what you feel, you got an attitude with something, whatever you feeling right now.
So that first question that you asked me, it made me think about how I want to define my own legacy and like what legacy to me. So the AFRO is just like a great example of legacy. So I'm just thinking about, okay, let me start building my own legacy. So thank you again for this opportunity. It is a true blessing.
Absolutely. You don't even have kids. Are you married yet, Courtney?
Nope. I am single.
You all up in her business.
Because they say start thinking about generations. She's already thinking about generations. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. Rashad, final word. You on the box.
First and foremost, I had to thank Word in Black for allowing me to write for them, because I wouldn't be here without them, because I don't have a journalism background, and I'm still being molded by our editor Liz Dwyer, and it's been a learning experience. It's hard out here being a Black father and just a Black man. So being able to, get that out, get that frustration or what I'm seeing out and sharing that, because I know if I see it, then our people are seeing it, and we all want to figure out how to create solutions. And I think the Black press is one solution, and continues to be that solution that helps us not only share our hardships, but also solutions, and also the organizations and people that are doing the work.
Rashad, you are a wonderful, fantastic, beautiful Black man and father, representing the culture, and use your power to affect change. We see you. That's what I'm just going to say. At the AFRO, we see you. Everybody out there, we see you. We see Rashad raising his kids. Thank you for your service in the Air Force. And thank you for making, because I know it was about 2 Black people in North Dakota when you was out. But now, people affected change. Okay, Ursula, what you got? You on mute. I'm sorry.
I think my final word today is just congratulations again on 130 years to the AFRO. a blessing to myself, my career, and to the community. And I look forward to the gala. And I was gonna say I look forward to another 130 years, so I probably won't see that, but that's what legacy is all about. And the AFRO has indeed a wonderful legacy. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
If you see, let me assure you, if you see another 130, you'll be headline news. We promise.
All right.
And visit battlestageplays.com. She
Yes.
is a world-renowned playwright. Anissa, you on the box.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just second what Courtney and Rashad said. I'm happy to be here, and it's a great opportunity to be really here carrying the torch of what you guys have already been doing for previous generations. And I just wanted to plug a story that I'm working on. If anybody listening here wants to talk to me about organ donation, shares that fear or that mistrust of the healthcare system, let me know, because I'm still looking for sources on that one. And yeah, once again, it's been a pleasure being here, being a panelist.
Absolutely. Dr. Draper, did you go already?
I did. I went first.
All right. Well, I'm going to end it. I'm not a journalist at all, but I guess everybody has a little journalism in them. I'm part of the family. I'm fifth generation. Dr. Draper is my mother, for those who don't know. And it becomes a service to the community when you're dealing with the Black press, and you have to have a spirit to serve. And if you have a spirit to serve, you will effectively make change. And I am just elated to be a part of the oldest Black business in Maryland and the third oldest Black business in the country. That is we're up there with General Electric and some of these companies that have been around forever. And we're looking forward to the innovations, but the stories will stay the same. And when you look and you need that trusted source, we're going to be here. And that is our plan. And that has been our great grandfather's plan. And we are so glad that we've been able to be in the training ground for so many wonderful, amazing people to say they got their start here when nobody else would open their press rooms to them. They cut their teeth at the AFRO. All right. And my wife says her brother received a liver donation 6 years ago and would love to speak with you. So we'll figure out how to make that happen. So you ask.
You shall receive.
There you go. So until next week, you haven't got your ticket, DM Dr. Draper and get your $100 off the first 10 people, because there's not many tables left. Yes, Dr. Draper?
That's true. I'm saying yes. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, you stuck the finger up. You know,
that's right. That's
when your mama stick a finger up, you just be quiet. So listen, get it. Get your outfit. Think about what you're gonna wear, because it's gonna be that kind of event. You know,
Black people always have clothes. That's not, they got clothes.
That part.
No, listen, they need a reason. Some people need a reason to shop all of a sudden. You know, I gotta go to this new event where somebody hasn't seen me. But until next time, man, God bless everybody. Smile smile today, right? And make somebody feel better, and call a senior, because they're looking for you to call them. They probably haven't heard from you in a while. Until next time, God willing, we'll see you later. Then thank you all to all of our guests. Ursula, I'm going to be looking forward to catching up with you. Long time. Thank you, Anissa and Rashad. I look forward to meeting you guys in person. And Courtney, are you coming to the gala?
I'll be there.
Yes. All right. Oh, it's a party now. All right. Take care.
And Ursula, you're coming, right?
I'm getting ready to direct message you.
DM me. I got you.
Just text her. You don't have to direct message. We got you. All right. Take it easy, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thank you.